All right. Hi, everybody. This is Lone U-Boat, Solitaire Wargame by Mike Lambo. Mike Lambo has produced several of these small games that are basically a PDF that you purchase, and they're hex and counter style usually. But the end result is that they're very straightforward. I won't say simple in the sense of unimaginative or limited in options so much as simple in the terms of being very direct, very easy to understand, very easy to pick up and play, very easy to set up. In fact, I will set this game up for you here in just a second. So simple in all the best ways I think that you could mean it. Nothing personally aggravates me more than to get into a game, play it enough that you hit an edge case or a corner case of some kind that the designer maybe didn't think of, and you wind up realizing after asking questions online and so on that, yeah, it really is a corner case and nobody's thought of it, and there's so many rules that are just left open-ended. And I understand solitaire games, you can kind of play those the way you want, and maybe you can make your own ruling to get out of that, but I just still find it frustrating. Don't find that with Mike Lambo's games. Again, the rule sets are straightforward, usually, from what I've seen, very well thought out, and therefore not terribly prone to corner cases or things that maybe had not been anticipated. Mike publishes his games on Amazon in printed versions, Lulu.com apparently, where you can get printed and spiral bound versions. The ones on Amazon are bound like a book, or a PDF on Wargame Vault, which is what I've done here. I printed it out myself, and I just put it in these binders and these sheet protectors here so I can kind of work with it. The rules are pretty straightforward. I'm flipping through, and you can see there's large diagrams, and the print's fairly large. And this game is outlined in about 20 pages, 22. And then we come to mission 1, which is what I'm going to play today. Here's setup. All the counters for these games, by the way, are included as one of the pages in the PDF. And you can print that out, and then I applied them to some craft board and cut those out. And, for 20 minutes work, just regular old Elmer's school glue, and for 20 minutes work you've got all the counters you need to play the game. There's some that are off camera for some of the allied ships and so on. As the name implies, I'm a lone U-boat. Here's my U-boat. I'm going to start in this hex marked with a U. I have to start there. I can start at any depth I want, of which there are 4: surfaced, periscope, medium, and deep. I have another counter for those 2 depths, and I can just flip them back and forth. In this game, this mission 1, there are 10 missions in this game, and in mission 1 here, my goal is to sink this merchant ship, which starts on the M hex and runs along this this dotted line through these hexes and exits the map on this yellow arrow. I have to sink it before it gets off the map. That's sort of the one timer, if you will. It's guarded by 1 corvette, which starts on the C hex. They're all C hexes, I guess, except for these land ones, but the one with the letter C. And facing towards this hex edge that the C is near. This is all outlined in the rules. Very easy setup. In fact, you've just watched me set this up. Other than some dice that I have to have, and I've got junk over here by my little dice tray. And again, there's a few counters off here. Off to this side, which you can't see, it's just off camera, I had a choice of either being able to show the map and the dice at a decent enough size that they could be seen, but I couldn't work the rules in. And honestly, the rules are pretty straightforward, as I keep saying. And I'll go into those as I play, and I think you'll even be able to anticipate somewhat, with the exception of reading the certain tables. But I think it'll be enough to do what I hope to do with this video, which is to give everybody a taste kind of how the game plays. Mike Lambo has videos on his YouTube channel of him playing all of his games, so you kind of get that feel as well. But I've only noticed a couple of videos for this game, and I thought I've enjoyed it enough. It deserves a little more attention. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. The game goes in phases. These are outlined in the rules, which again are on the facing page that you just can't see slightly. It is off camera. There are 6 phases. The first is the U-boat phase. We get to go first. The setup is that I have to put the ships where I outline that they go. I have this detection level, which is sort of how aware are the allies of where my U-boat is. It starts at 0, and then my torpedo tubes, which all have torpedoes in them. The first 4 fire out the front of the U-boat, and the tube 5 fires directly out the rear. You can't fire in any direction except straight down the line of hexes that your U-boat faces, or in the case of tube 5, up the other way of that same line of hexes. That's the way you move, and that's the way you turn as well. You never face anything other than along a hex edge, and the same goes true for the allies. Again, it's not a simulation, but it's a straightforward little game. Each scenario might take you 30 to 45 minutes. I think 30 is more realistic once you understand the rules. There are a few things that change from mission to mission, but the core of it is the same, and once you get that down, it's pretty simple. All right, so to start the U-boat phase, I roll 3 dice if I have no engine damage, which I don't here. And the way the movement works in this game is you roll 3 dice and you take the highest die. If your captain is still alive, then you can add 1 to that die. And that's the number of movement points you get for all of the things that the U-boat can do. Some can only be done at surface or periscope, for example. And the deeper you go, down to deep, the more points it takes. It sort of simulates your U-boat at deep depth being slower. You're on electric motors off the battery, and you just couldn't operate as quickly as you could on the surface under diesel. So anyway, 3 dice. I take the highest one, which is a 5. The other 2 go out of the way, and then my captain's still alive, so I get to add 1. It becomes 6. I have 6 movement points. That's not 6 moves, but 6 points that I can spend to do different actions. My first goal here is going to be, I think I'm going to try to go in between these 2 islands and get lined up to make a rundown for this merchant as it cruises through here, and take a shot at it with my torpedoes. The thing I've got to watch out for, of course, is the corvette, which at lower detection levels will sort of aim for this hex with an anchor on it. At higher detection levels, it will come towards your U-boat, which makes sense. When they know where you are, they'll come after you. So on the surface, I can move and turn either one of those things for 1 movement point. I'm going to go ahead and try to get down here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think I want to stay right here for now. Mainly because I want to have a couple of options. I don't want to get here too tight on the corvette, and if I get between these 2 islands, it could be problematic. So again, I've only spent 5 of my 6, but that's good enough. I'm going to stop there. Okay, phase 2 is the merchant ship phase, and the merchant ships are very simple. They move 1 along this dotted line that they start on, and they always face the way the dotted line goes, which means when he gets to this hex here with the red arrow, which is the other part of my goal, I'll talk about that in 1 second, he will turn and be prepared to move down this way on his next following turns. The red arrow hex is after, if I sink the merchant ship, then I have to leave the map and escape the area by going out off the map, off that red arrowed hex. I have to go this way off of it. Hopefully we get to show that. That's phase 2, the merchant ship phase. Phase 3 is the detection phase, where the Allied escort ships can try to detect my U-boat. There's 2 conditions for that. They have to be range 3 or less, which range is pretty simple. It's 1, 2, 3, so I'm out of range anyway. And they would have to have line of sight, which I think this island intervenes. Again, it doesn't matter. We're out of range anyway, so we just skip that phase because it can't happen. The next phase is the escort phase, where they actually will move, and corvettes get 2 dice. I'm going to roll these red dice here for the Allies. They get 2 dice plus the detection level, which currently is 0. And it's very important as the U-boat player to keep that detection level at 0 if possible. The more dice you give the escorts, the more quickly they'll find you. So we roll the 2 dice, and then we arrange them in numerical order. So it was a 2 and a 6, and then there's a chart that tells you what each of the 6 possibilities would be, and you do them in the order that they appear, starting with 1. So 2 is move, and if blocked, turn. He is not blocked, so he won't turn. And then if the detection level is 1 through 3, he would try to launch depth charges. Well, it's not at 1 through 3, it's 0. I'm out of range anyway, so that's that. 6, similar but not exactly the same, is move and turn. Now, this is unlike the other action was move and if blocked, turn. A 6 is move and turn. When the detection level is 0 or 1, so that is to say they're not totally sure where a U-boat is, or they're completely unaware of there's a U-boat out there, which is the situation now, the ships will turn towards this hex with the anchor on it. And in this game, as I mentioned, you can only face along the lines, the 6 facings of the hex. So the anchor is to the left of the corvette, so he will turn to the left 1 hex facing, like that. Very simple. And then the last part of the 6 action is, again, if in range, launch depth charges. The detection level also has to be higher. Neither of those is true, so we just skip that part. Phase 5 is the Allied B-24 phase. In this game, under certain conditions, B-24s can come out and attack your U-boat as well. There are none on the board, though, so we skip that for now. And then phase 6 is end of turn events. There's a chart. You roll 2d6 and consult that. This changes from scenario to scenario somewhat. But right now for this, a 7 is if you're surfaced or at periscope depth, I am surfaced, then a radio transmission you made is intercepted by the Allies, and if the detection level is 0, it is, then set it to 1. Okay, that's a bit of bad luck there. So now that bumps it up, gets a little closer to knowing where I am. So again, that's all 6 phases now. So what do? Well, we just go back to the top and pick up with the U-boat phase again and repeat all the phases. We just run down and all the way down every time. This, need to think about my strategy here. Obviously, I need to be very careful. If I try to come through here now with the detection level already at 1, certainly that I'm on the surface, that's a bad idea. I know the merchant is pretty slow and is going to be down in this area here. So my real question is, do I try to submerge and sneak through here, or do I try to go around this way? I think I'm going to go around. I think the corvette will continue on in this direction towards this hex. I could just bide my time and let the corvette make some moves. But I definitely need to submerge. So whatever the case, I roll my 3 dice. No engine damage, so I roll 3. If the engine was damaged, I would only roll 2 dice. In either event, I take the highest die, which is a 5 again, and I roll, there are actually 2 5s, but I only take 1 of them, and I add 1 to it because my captain is still alive, so I get 6 movement points. To change depth, in this case, you can only change depth once per turn, so in this case, I'm going down because I'm on the surface. I would go to periscope. It costs 2 points. I definitely want to do that. I would be considerate here that if I want to make any movement, I would do that first because it's easier to do that while you're surfaced. Again, the deeper you go, the more points it costs to do things. I don't really want to move, so I'm just going to go ahead and dive. That costs me 2 points. So that knocks me down to 4. And the only other question would be if I want to come into this hex here to kind of creep a little closer. One issue with that is 1, 2, 3, that would be in range of the Corvette when the detection phase is coming up. Right now I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, so I'm out of range and he won't be able to detect me at this range. So moving forward one would pose some risk. I'm not going to do that. I think, again, I have time with the merchant ship that I'm going to wait. So other than that, there's nothing really else to do. I have all my torpedo tubes loaded. There's nothing else I need to do. I can't change depth again. I've done it once this turn, and you can only do it once. So I think I'll just forfeit the rest of my movement points and bide my time. My experience, not deep, you know, I've played several of these missions more than once, but my experience that I do have with this game says, take it easy, don't rush, keep the detection level low. So when in doubt, don't rush in. You got to be bold, but only when you're sure you're going to have a shot. Don't get bold trying to get a shot. And be very careful about when you shoot the escorts. If you shoot the escorts and you don't get it, you're really bringing down a world of hurt. Okay, so that was the U-boat phase. Now the merchant ship phase, again, very simple. The merchant ship just moves forward 1 hex. If it's undamaged, it always happens. Phase 3 is the detection phase. Again, I know 1, 2, 3, I'm out of range for detection from this escort, so I don't have to worry about that. Phase 4 is the escort phase. Again, the detection level is 1, so the Corvette gets 2 dice plus 1 for the detection level being 1. So now he rolls 3 dice, and we're going to put them in order and go down the order. So 1, 3, 5. So 1 is, if the detection level is 1 through 3, it is fire the guns or depth charge as appropriate. Well, for depth charging, the range is same hex or 1, so 0 or 1 hex. We're not in that range. And for the guns, it's 1 through 3 hexes, so 1, 2, 3. Again, we're out of range for that. So that essentially becomes a non-event. We just skip it. 3, as we know from our first roll for the escorts, is move, or sorry, that was a different number. Anyway, it's move and turn. Again, because its detection level is 0 or 1, he's going to turn towards the anchor. So he moved here, and then the anchor is to his right, so he turns 1 facing to the right. That's the 3. And then the 5 is, again, if the detection level is 1 through 3, fire the guns. Well, the other condition for firing the guns, now that I am in range, 1, 2, 3, is for the guns, you have to be surfaced. I'm not surfaced, I'm at periscope depth, so that becomes sort of a non-event. That's the escorts phase. Next is the B-24 phase. Again, no B-24s out, so we skip that. Into turn events is an 8. If you're deep, then you suffer some hull damage from being too deep. I'm not deep, so that doesn't happen. Go back to the top. I'm going to start running through these faster because I think you see the pattern here. 3 dice, since I have no engine damage. Highest die, add 1 because the captain's still alive. I got a 4, so that becomes a 5. And I have 5 movement points. I could potentially fire torpedoes at this Corvette. I'm at 1, 2, 3 range, which would need a 4, 5, or 6, so 50-50 chance. Considering it, but I think I would rather be a little more passive and let the merchant ship come on down and then try to get to where I need to be. So first thing I'm going to do is dive even further down to medium, which makes it even harder for the escort to detect me. That costs me 2. Going from 1 depth to a lower depth costs 2 points, but going back up a depth costs 1. Again, you can only change depth once a move, whether that's up or down, once per turn. So that's my first action here, and I can only change depth. I don't think I really want to get a lot closer, but at this point, since I'm in range 3 anyway, it doesn't matter if I'm at range 3 or range 2, except in terms of the detection level. So if I'm at range less than 3, which I am, I'm at 3, and the detection level goes to 2, the Corvette will start basing its turns on my position, not the anchor. So I need to be very careful with that. I think I'm gonna wait right here and let the Corvette move on out. Hopefully he doesn't roll too many more 1s and 5s. So again, I've changed depth, but I'm gonna forfeit the rest of my movement points. Really trying to kind of slow play this and get that detection level back down. Let the merchant get out of or the Corvette get out of the way so I can slide on in and take a shot at the merchant. Okay, so that's my phase. Merchant ship phase now comes. He moves, and since the dotted line is turning, he's going to turn in preparation for his next move. The detection phase, this will happen because I'm at 1, 2, 3. The escort, there's only 1, so I roll 1 die. If there were more escorts that were close enough to me, range was less than 3, then I would roll a die for each of the escorts. There's only 1 escort in this mission, so I'm going to roll 1. At medium depth, he needs a 4 or better, so 4, 5, or 6. However, my sonar operator is still alive and working on the ship, so on the boat, so I can add 1 to that. So he needs a 5 or a 6 in order to be able to detect me. You can play that into the narrative however you want. The sonar operator on the U-boat is able to sense the thermal layers of the water and can move us in such a way to make us a little hard to detect or whatever. So we'll roll 1 die. 5 or 6 would move the detection level up. It's a 1, so fortunately that does not change the detection level. The escort's phase, again, he gets 2 dice plus 1 for the detection level being 1. And it's 3, 4, 6. So the 3 is a move and turn. Again, it's 0 or 1, so he'll turn towards the hex. The last part of that is to fire the guns or depth charge. If we're in range, we are not. 4 is move, and if blocked, turn. He's not blocked, so he won't turn. We're not in range for any combat. And then 6 is move and turn, facing the he's facing the anchor already, so he won't turn. That's outlined in the rules. And again, combat, if we're in range, we're not. So kind of what I was thinking might happen is the Corvette has started to move away, surging for me now. I have to be careful because now that he's about at the hex, when he turns, he's going to start turning back. So anyways, just thinking about that. Okay, that's the escorts phase. No allied B-24s, which is phase 5. Phase 6 is the end of turn events. That is an 11, which says if you're not surfaced, I'm not, and the engine is not damaged, it is not, then the U-boat runs silently for a while, drop the detection level down by 1. Hey, that's great. We like that. It would have gone down anyway as we now cycle back to the top, because the first thing is if you are at medium depth, then you can reduce the detection level by 1. If you're at deep, you do it by 2, which is nice. But anyway, it's 0. That's what counts. Roll my 3 dice. Highest one's a 6. So I'm going to add 1 to that because the captain's still alive. So I get 7 movement points. And this is really a great time to have 7 movement points. In order to fire torpedoes, I need to be at periscope depth. Secondarily, it'll be easier for me to make this dash down here to get into to close the range on the merchant ship if I am at periscope depth. Again, movement costs less if you're not as deep. So I'm going to go back up to periscope, which costs me 1 point. Again, going up only costs 1 point. Going down costs 2. So that's my 1 point there. I have 6. Movement at periscope depth costs 2 points. I need to save 2 though in order to fire torpedoes. So that's 2, 4. And the range here is 1, 2, 3. At range 3, I need a 3 or a 4. Sorry, I need a 4, 5, or 6 to hit the merchant from this aspect. There are basically 2 aspects. From the side, so if I was shooting down this row or down this row, or up here, or from over here, it's one when the merchant ship is facing head on, or the the corvette or destroyer, any ship, if it's facing head on like this, then that's front or rear. So you'll down the throat shot or firing directly at the stern, it's harder. It's not presenting as large a target. But at this point, I've moved twice, so I have 2 points left. My question in my head is, do I fire now, or do I try to use some movement next turn, assuming I stay undetected, and maybe move here, which would allow me to be at 0. The problem is that's going to be 2 moves in 2 turns, which at periscope depth would be 6 points in and of itself. Then I wouldn't have any left over to shoot torpedoes. So more realistically might be to come here, facing to the south, and then the next turn I would do nothing. The merchant ship would move here, and then the next turn after that I would fire. Don't think I'm going to wait that long. The corvette's in a good position for me to scoot if I do fire, and if you hit with torpedoes, the detection level goes up. So I'm going to go ahead and fire here. The question now is, do I fire? You can fire 1, 2, or 3 torpedoes. The kicker is, if you fire obviously 1 torpedo, you better hit. If you fire 2, that's fine, you got a better chance maybe. And if you fire 3, you're doing great. The problem is the detection level automatically goes up by 1 when you fire 3 torpedoes. So do I fire 3 or 2, really, is kind of my thought process. I'm going to fire 2 torpedoes. I don't want to give the 1 immediate change in detection level. If I miss or I don't successfully sink the merchant, then maybe I'll go ahead and try to maneuver for this other shot where the merchant has moved down this way. And if I do damage it, it may not move at all. That kind of becomes a die roll. So I'm going to fire tubes 1 and 2. What that means is I spend my last 2 action points. 2 torpedoes is 1d6 for each torpedo, so that's 2d6. Again, I'm at range 3 or 4, 1, 2, 3, from the side, so I need a 4, 5, or 6 to hit the merchant. Each one of these is an independent roll. If I get 2 above 4, then I hit with both torpedoes. And I did. That's excellent. Okay, however, if you hit at all, the detection level goes up. You know, obviously. We've been torpedoed. What do you think could have done it? Might be a U-boat. The good news is I get to roll both D6 now to see what damage they did. And essentially for merchant ships, because they're soft and squishy, anything but a 1. And I get a 2 and a 3. So a 2 or 3, either one of those damages. However, the first one, say, damages the U-boat, or the merchant ship. The second one, if it's damaged already, then it sinks it. So I have sunk the merchant. That is part of my goal done. Now the rest of it is get out of here alive. All of my action points are done. I'm at periscope depth and I'm here. I'm at 1, 2, 3, or you could prefer 1, 2, 3. I'm in range for, again, the merchant ship's phase would be next, but we skipped that because the merchant's at the bottom. And then phase 3 is the detection phase. So the corvette is going to roll 1 die. He needs, because I'm at periscope depth, he needs to get 2 or better, but my sonar operator adds 1, so it's a 3 or better, 50-50 chance. And it's a 6, so the detection level goes up to 2. This is starting to be a little hairy, but hey, we had to take the risk when we took it to get our shot in and sink that merchant. So the escort phase, again, 2 dice for the corvette. However, the detection level is at 2, so we're going to add 2 dice and make it 4. And because the detection level is at 2 or 3, when determining on turns, the corvette will turn towards the U-boat, not the anchor. So 2 is move, and if blocked, turn. He's not going to turn because he's not blocked. And then do depth charges if in range. He's not. Another 2, same thing, turn if blocked, move, and then if blocked, turn. Not blocked, so won't turn well out of range. 5 is fire guns, but that's again only if I'm surfaced, so that doesn't happen. And then 6 is move and turn. So turn in this case, I'm behind and to the left, so the point is he will turn to the left. And then again, depth charges or fire guns. If I'm in range, I'm not. So that the 2 2s there really worked out well for us. If there had been a move and turn, move and turn, move and turn, say all 6s and actually 3s do that as well, then he would have been, you know, more here, really close. It could have been worse. That's the escorts phase. No B-24s, which is phase 5. Phase 6, end of turn events. It is an 8, which again is if you're deep, you take hull damage. I'm not deep, so we don't do that. Back to the top. U-boat phase. No damage to my engine, so I do roll all 3 dice. And the highest is a 5, so that, because my captain is still alive, becomes a 6. Obviously, I want to get the heck out of Dodge. A good tactic here might be to surface, which would cost 1, because once you're on the surface, movement points only cost 1. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would be off the board and win. So keep that in mind. I could surface, which would be 1, and then move would be 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have 6 points. So I could win right here. I think for the sake of the video, though, I'm going to stay at periscope depth, but I am just going to try to get out of here. The Corvette will get here soon enough. So at periscope depth, actually, let's really stretch it out. Sorry. Let's dive. So we're going to go back down to medium, which enables us possibly to make it harder to be detected. So that costs 2 points. Remember, going down costs 2, up costs 1. So I'm at 4. And then movement at medium depth costs 3 points. So I can really only do the 1. I would have 1 point left over, but I can't do anything with that. So there we are. No merchant ship phase. Detection phase, we're out of range. Escort phase gets 2 dice plus 2 for the detection level being 2. And it's 3, 3, 3, 5. 3s are move and turn. So he's going to move and turn towards me. That's 1. The next one would be move, but he's blocked by the land, so he will just turn, which is the next part of the 3, as we know from the other die. And the next one is move and turn. However, he's already facing me, so he doesn't turn. And then 5 is, if possible, fire the deck guns. Well, out of range and not surfaced. So again, the Corvette's slowly kind of coming back around. No allied B-24s on the map. End of turn events. It's a 6. If the escort detection level is not already at 3, perform phase 3 now, but again, not at range to detect me anyway, so we skip that. Back to the top. I'm at medium depth, so the detection level goes down 1. And then I roll my 3 dice, and here we go. Some chunky rolls again. A 3 becomes a 4 because the captain's still alive. At medium depth, I can only move for 3, and again, that essentially does all the points I have. So this is going to take a little while, but I think I'm still going to be okay. We'll see how fast the Corvette gets over here. No merchant ships. Detection phase out of range here, so that doesn't happen. Escort phase, roll 2 plus 1 for the detection level being 1. It's a 3, 5, 6. That was a 5. 3, 5, 6. So a 3 is move and turn. I'm to his left now, so he will turn to the left. And if in range, do depth charges. I'm not. 5 is fire deck guns, but I'm not surfaced, nor am I in range. 6, move and turn towards me again. And if in range, but again, the range has to be, for depth charges, 0 or 1. So we'd have to be right in here. So that doesn't happen. No B-24s, end of turn events is a 4. If the detection level is 2 or 3, it's not, it's 1. That's where a B-24 would come out. That didn't happen. Back to the top, I'm still at medium, so the detection level goes down again. That's now 0. And I roll my 3 dice. I don't think me stretching it out by not making a surface run is going to make a difference, as it turns out. So it's a 4, captain's alive, that becomes a 5. We know it takes 3 to move. Yeah, let's just end it. So we're going to go back up to Periscope for 1. So I'm down to 4. And then Periscope depth movement takes 2. So that's 2, 4. I'm off the map. Mission's over. I succeeded. That was actually, I don't know if it's if I was lucky with some dice rolls, probably, or if I just played that really brilliantly, also probably. That's a joke. Then, you know, okay, but the missions don't always turn out that low key. That was kind of I was, you know, maybe fortunate, whatever there. And there's only 1 escort. So again, this is kind of the simpler mission. You can see in later missions, there are 2 corvettes and a merchant that you have to sink. And then you got to get off the map down here. So you have to sink them somewhere up here and then run across. So 1 corvette may be along this way. I think Mike plays this episode in one of his videos. Mission 3 is not just sink something. You're dropping off an operative up here, so you have to be surfaced on this red hex. I say that fast. At the end of the U-boat phase, 1 turn, and then get off the map. There's some others where it's more complicated. 2 merchants, a corvette, a destroyer. 2 merchants, 2 corvettes, and all of this land masses and shallow water here. And these lighter color hexes, you can only be at surfaced or periscope. Only going medium or deep in these darker hexes. Here, this is all about shallow water, and there's no merchant to sink. You have to sink destroyers, and destroyers are even tougher than corvettes. Mission 7 is all in the deep water, but there's 2 corvettes, a destroyer, and only 1 merchant you got to get. This is a mission all about stealth. If your detection level ever gets above 1, you lose, so that's interesting. Here, there's some islands in the way. You start the mission at detection level 3, and you're on the surface, meaning that you got to do something pretty quick because they're going to come racing in. They're going to be homing in on you, not the anchor. That's for if you ever get the detection level down. But also, you know, they're going to be coming after you, and you can't just maneuver too much with the shallow water in these islands here. You have to use that to your advantage. And mission 10 is similar in attack, but there's 2 corvettes and a destroyer. You got to get 2 merchant ships and then get off the map up here where the destroyer is already sitting. Of course, he's going to move off of that, but adds to it. You can see that, you know, there's plenty of room to add more missions to this. Perhaps Mike will do that. He has done that with a couple of his other games that were pretty popular. I don't know the status of Lone U-Boat. Heck, you can make your own missions. All you have to really do with a little bit of GIMP in the sense of Photoshop open source tool or Photoshop if you have the dough, would be to, you know, scan one of these in and cut it up. Obviously, don't sell those. This is Mike's property, but you can do it for your own use, I would imagine. Maybe he will come up with some more missions as time goes on. Again, his other missions, or his other games rather, not are all World War II. There are sci-fi versions, not all just like this, but some other things. There's some that are more stealth mission based, where you're infiltrating a building to rescue somebody. I think that's called hostage rescue. There's a fantasy setting where you're a wizard and can cast spells. I don't have those, but I know of their existence. The ones I have are the Lone Sherman, where you're a single Sherman tank against some German armor, infantry, and mechanized equipment. He has a series called Fields of Normandy or Battles of Normandy, where you have lots of different kinds of units. Infantry unit, you have a bazooka team and other things going against German artillery positions and German armor. They're similar to this in their structure in that, again, kind of his trademark is simple rules that are easy to figure out and easy to follow and don't make you run into so many corner cases where somebody, didn't think about this and the rules aren't clear. I've not run that into that in one of Mike's games. When people do ask questions on Board Game Geek, for example, often I'm able to go, oh, okay, yeah, I know the answer to that. And it's not necessarily just you didn't read the rules. It's they just didn't interpret it correctly or didn't quite grok it. That's okay. But even in the weird cases, often Mike Lambo answers the questions himself. That's pretty cool too, to not only have a game published, but to have the author actively involved. We all know how much we like that. I like that. Anyway, big props to Mike Lambo. I enjoy the games. I look forward to more that he comes out with. And something about the American Civil War. I should probably do those because one of the battles that he has in his book takes place in my home state of Arkansas. So that might be my next Lambo game. Anyways, good luck everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video.